Ordinary-looking photos with disturbing backstories Part 2. This is John Edward Robinson and his family posing for a family picture. What you don't know, however, is that the baby he is holding is not his own, but rather the daughter of a woman he murdered not long before. He eventually gave the baby to his brother and sister-in-law who were looking to adopt a baby, saying that her mother had committed suicide. It would take 15 years before anyone found out the truth. This is the final picture of the Webster sisters and their friend before their untimely deaths. For context, that bright light in the background is actually an oncoming train. It would be the cause of their deaths. This one is tragic, to be sure, but you should also understand that it was an act of negligence. You should never perform any sort of dangerous stunts to snap a selfie or picture. That's just asking for trouble. These are the survivors of the Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571. A brave group of soldiers fought to survive the harsh conditions they were put in after their plane crashed. What's unfortunate is how they survived. Unfortunately, they ran out of food at a certain point before rescue. They had to resort to cannibalism in order to survive. What makes this picture creepy is the fact that a human spine is visible in the picture. This is not just a normal family photo. This is the Lawson family shortly before being murdered by the father. It is thought that the crime may have been premeditated due to the abnormal occasion of the family photo. The only member to survive the massacre was the eldest son of the family who had been sent out on some errands beforehand. It is also rumored that the murders took place because of potential suspicion of incestuous acts. We bet you didn't know that the serial killer John Wayne Gacy had met the First Lady Rosalind Carter. Well, here is a photo of the two signed by Carter to John Gacy, "Best wishes, Rosalind Carter." Gacy had been active in the political scene for years. He is depicted in this image with an S label on his jacket, indicating Secret Service security clearance. Little did they know that by this time he had already murdered 20 young men. This is a picture of Leah Graff, who was a performer for the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, along with J.P. Morgan. The photo sent her to Stardom overnight, but she decided to move back to Germany when she couldn't handle all the attention. Unfortunately for her, she could not have foreseen that she would be arrested and sent to Auschwitz along with her family for being Jewish and being deemed unfit to live. It is assumed that they did not survive. This would have been one of the sweetest pictures, if not for the fact that the man died shortly after. Stephen Weber Jr. was on vacation in Tanzania when he decided to propose to his girlfriend at their underwater hotel room. His fatal mistake was attempting this by free diving down to the room. He was not able to reach the surface in time before drowning. Despite CPR attempts bringing back a light pulse, Weber eventually died. This could be a nice profile picture or a commemorative photo of his wrestling career. But, unfortunately, it's the last photo of Chris Benoit, taken at the doctor's office. Unbeknownst to anyone, he had already murdered his wife. Over a 3-day period, he would murder both his wife and son, and then finally commit suicide. After his death, a medical examiner found that Benoit's brain was so severely damaged it resembled the brain of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. Things might have been different if he hadn't sustained multiple head injuries leading to dementia. What appears to be a beautiful scenic photograph can only be wrought with tragedy if it's on this list. If you take a look at the trail in the snow, you'll notice it splits off into a second trail leading off a cliff. The photographer was Kurt Diemberger, who took this photo after his traveling companion, Hermann Bull, who was known as one of the best mountaineers of all time, veered off the path and fell to his death. This is a picture of the former professional wrestler Juana Barraza at the height of her career. Her early life was a tragic one. She was sold by her mother for 3 beers when she was 12 to a man who repeatedly raped her. She would have 4 children, one of whom was the son of her abuser. The trauma she suffered during her life would lead her to strangle between 42 and 49 elderly women who had resembled her mother. Just from looking at this photo, you can tell that the man in the background is up to something sinister. In fact, this was taken at a Las Vegas fashion show, where he would meet one of his victims standing in the foreground. That man is serial killer Christopher Wilder, and the girl in the photo is 17-year-old Michelle Korfman. The photo that was taken depicts him stalking her before he kidnapped and murdered her. This is a photograph of a boy who went missing during a hiking trip on the biggest island of Hawaii. The boy is pictured on the left. The right image is one of the images he sent to his family. When he never showed up back home, the family noticed a man lurking in the bushes and feared the worst. They assume that this man is the one who might have done something to their son, but has since not been identified. This would probably be the sweetest image on this list if it weren't for its tragic backstory. This is an image from the inside of the bus, dubbed the Magic Bus, that was made famous by the book and movie Into the Wild. This bus used to lie deep in the Alaskan wilderness. The married couple who signed their name stayed overnight, but found the river had swelled by the next day. The wife, unfortunately, got swept away by the current and drowned, since the husband's attempts at rescue all failed. This is a picture of Michael Mandel and his friend Tyler Hadley, who had thrown a party that night and can be seen here holding a cup and an expression on his face that already tells half the story. Before throwing the party, Tyler had murdered his parents. He had previously told a friend that he wanted to kill his parents and have a big party after because it hadn't been done before. The friend laughed it off as a joke. After admitting it to Michael, he took a few pictures since he wasn't sure if he'd ever see him again. No overtly tragic events here. No murder, accident, or otherwise unlikely death. Just a death of natural causes, but you wouldn't know that by looking at this photo of a daughter and her parents. Apparently, it was commonplace in the Victorian age to be photographed with a deceased relative in order to commemorate them after their death. In this photo, the girl in the middle is already dead. This is a photo of the nightclub Kiss posted by one of the DJs on the Facebook page. Later that night, a flare would ignite some flammable acoustic foam on the ceiling, which subsequently set the room on fire. Over 240 people were killed and more than 600 others were injured. This was perpetrated by a lack of emergency exits, overcrowding, and security trying to organize the crowd during the panic. This picture of a basketball card depicts two young boys in the background of the image. Unbeknownst to anyone, these two boys had, by the time of this photo, taken the lives of their parents. The boys are Lyle and Eric Menendez, brothers who were the victims of their father's sexual abuse and whose mother enabled the behavior. Afraid that they would be killed by their parents, they took the shotguns they recently discovered their parents owned and shot them to death. If you look long enough at this photo, you'll immediately know what's going on here. This unfortunate, yet well-timed photo depicts the final moments of a Philippine politician. Ronaldo Dagsa was taking a New Year's photo for his family. Due to the loud fireworks overhead, no one was able to hear the shots of gunfire. He did not survive the shooting. While this looks like a standard gas station security photo, these two men are no ordinary people. This is Salah Abdeslam and his driver on their way back to Belgium in November 2015. This photo was taken the day after a Bedslem ordered the attack on Paris that left 130 people killed and 683 others injured. He was apparently one of only 2 people left alive after the attacks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. Let's make life fun.